This video is a full behind the scenes of how I made the map. Doublecross trained, which is just Doublecross, but there's a train in it. I'll have timestamps in the description and the comments if you want to skip around to see how I did certain things. So here's a little project I'm starting. It's going to be called Doublecross with a train, and that's literally all it is. It's just Doublecross with a train. There's going to be really no other changes besides that, but I'm going to go through the whole process of doing so. So first off, I need the original Doublecross map, which is in my TF2 directory. Here it is. It's in BSP format, which means I need to decompile it. I'm just going to place it right here for now. Add it in and decompile it. I'm going to put it in my Doublecross train map original. I'm actually going to call this CTF Doublecross train, and I'll do that. It's better just to decompile locally. I know there's maps online that you can download. I think particularly if you just look up TF2 maps decomp. If you go to this webpage, they'll have them, but the problem with this map, all the overlays are missing from the map. So don't use that website. Just decompile locally, it's much easier. So anyways, I'm going to launch up Hammer now. Well, I use Hammer++, but anyways. I'm going to open this guy up. Alright, so here's Doublecross decompiled. Everything looks okay. Like I was saying, on that map version from the internet, it doesn't actually come with these overlays, unfortunately. They're all for some reason deleted from the map. I don't know why. So just don't use them, the one from the internet. It's nice to have maybe as reference, but if you're trying to recreate a map, it's better just to do this. Now, of course, there is some issues still with this map. With decompiling maps in general, there is. So I just got to fix a few things. Make sure things are lining up, and make sure the overlays are good, because sometimes there is issues like that. Like a random floating thing here. Also just going to check for problems, see if there's anything. Nothing found, okay. Make sure everything is looking okay. I think everything looks okay. Alright. Well, to get started, I'm going to make a train. So I'm going to make this train on blue side, facing right. It needs to be facing that way, otherwise the tracks and whatnot is just not going to work. It's just something in Hammer that you have to do. So start this, I'm just going to plop my train model down. It's the skybox model, I need the actual one. Here it is. Turn my grid all the way down to 1, so I'm working with models. Just down a bit. I'll want it the same height as the tracks, and I'll do the same thing for I'm also going to switch this to a dynamic model. I guess call it Choo Choo. And I'm also going to make a car for it. Attached up like that. It looks goofy, but it works. No one really sees it anyways. Next up, I'm going to make the actual train entity. Now with trains, I make them one smaller than the actual box here. You can see it's 1 unit smaller. Anyways, the reason I do that, make it at least 1 smaller, is because there's also a hurt trigger that I put around the train that kills you, and I don't want you sliding off the train or jumping on top of it or whatever, even though that would be fun. Change this to no draw. And turn it into a tank train. Just call it Choo Choo Train. And then parent both of these guys. Oops. I hate it when I do that. Parent both of them to the train itself. Like that. And now those will go along with the motion of that train. Also got to set these is unblockable. And that should work there. Choo-choo train, height above tracks, 0. Distance between the wheels, it's not going to turn, it's going in a straight line. Health doesn't need to be set because you can't break it. Although I'm going to anyways, why not? What am I looking for? Oh, initial speed. Set this to 2,000. I like fast trains. And that's units per second, obviously. So the train's 1,000, just about 1,000 units long. So it'll go 2 of its lengths per second. I think that's good enough. And also got to set the render mode to don't render. What that's, the entity, this no draw big old block entity is the actual train, and the models are just parented towards it. So I don't want to render this big old ugly block. So that's why I'm setting it for that. And next I'm going to make the hurt box. Just like that. See if that's good enough. It's good, just like that. And I'll make this a trigger. Make that one taller as well. Just line it back up on the grid. I'll probably do that for this too. Okay. So that looks good. Make this into a trigger hurt. And set the damage type to freeze, which is what the train uses. So the kill icon's the correct one. Set the damage to very fucking high. Set it to NPC, or excuse me, clients. Or whatever you want there. And the other thing is just to parent it. I'm going to call this choo-choo hurt. I know I'm calling it a choo-choo train even though it's not a steam train. I don't care. Oh, excuse me, that's not the right parent. I'm going to parent it to the actual train. There we are. The other thing I like doing is setting the center line of this train. I like moving that to the front of the train. Not on smallest grid or what? Yeah, I like moving it to the front of the train. Also, the bottom, so that it runs along that track properly. Alright, so that's my train done, but it needs a path to move along. So, put it in the center of these rails here. Let me just make sure that's all centered, lined up, everything like that. Center, that's the center right there. Okay. This is going to be a path track. Call this Choo Track 01. Put teleport to this path track as one of the starters. That's just for when it's at the end. I'll show you that in a bit. I also set face to this track's angles, which should be, I think, 0 to, yep, be 0 to 70. And the reason I do that is so the train goes this way, or the orientation faces this way, and it's not gliding along like, excuse me. So it's not gliding along like that. It actually turns before it goes. And it's just simply moving this all the way down. Just like that. I'm going to go all the way to the edge as far as I can without going to the skybox. Unclick that. And also add an output, so on pass, entity's name Choo Train. Should be teleport to path track. Choo Track 01. It's going to give me an error. I don't know why it does that. I think it's just something in Hammer. Port to path track. So yeah, on pass, it just teleports back. Now, there's nothing to get the train started into motion, though. So what I got to do next is add a timer. Logic timer. I'll just call this train timer, or choo-choo timer, I guess. Just for testing purposes, we're going to go 20 seconds. So the train will run every 20 seconds. So on timer, choo-choo train, start forward, just like so. And it'll go forward on that first track. I forget I also have to do this, which is set the first stop target to this first track. What else I'm also going to do is just edit this a bit. I think it's a bit too long. Oops. Just stick it like that. That should be good. I'm going to put a fake light on the front of the train here. I don't know where that put them all the way down there for some reason. Anyways, call this end light glow. I don't really need to name this, and I won't. And then I'm going to parent it, of course, to here. Of course, make it light, or white. I think that's pretty good enough. It's just going to show kind of a fake light when it's coming down the track. I could put a dynamic light or whatever there, but I don't care to do that. Alright. So, pretty much everything's set up now. We'll just get to testing. So I'll have to run the map and test it up. I don't think there's anything else right now. Well, I guess I'll do one more thing, which is add a train horn sound effect. And also delay the train starting forward by, let's say, 2 seconds, I guess. So the train horn sounds first and then it goes. Call this choo-choo horn. Like so. Oops. So I'm just making sure my settings are all right. A lot of these are just stuff that I don't need to set, but I do anyways, just in case. And in the logic timer, on timer right away, the choo-choo horn play sound. And it'll play it just once. And then I gotta set the sound, of course. That's what I'll do. I could do the razor horn. Alright, now it's time to test in game, so I'm going to run the map. Let's go on fast. Don't even need Vivas, screw that. And I'll be back after this is done. So, it's done here. I can go in game and test things. So I'll launch up TF2 here. And then the easiest way I find is just map. CTF Doublecross trained in the console, and I'll go there. I give a bunch of errors because I don't have CUBEMAPS. And a host of other issues. So, there's a lot of lighting issues, and it's because I didn't run Vivas. Play ball! But that's okay. I'll fix that later. Really, all I gotta see is that the train comes out of the tunnel. So, train horn, you can hear that. And here it goes. A little bit slow, but I'll fix that. And it does kill you. So, a few things to change. I gotta set the max speed, not just the initial speed. Set that to 2000. And then the other thing is just to move the tracks down just a little bit. Let's go 2. I think that should be good enough. So everything works. The train horn works. The train goes forward. It does everything it needs to do. The other thing I'm going to work on now is working on these gates, getting them to open and close. So first thing I got to do is just set them all to prop dynamics. So they can't move unless they're dynamic. Alright, so I got those set up. The other thing I want to do is just start making them into gates. So I'm just going to go along their lines kind of. It really doesn't matter because this isn't going to be interacting with the player. They're going to swing out this way and not this way. I think it's better just to do that. Make a block around them, no draw it. And I'm also gonna, if they're off. So what's going to be called is a door rotating, or a func door rotating. Just like so. Now first thing I need to do is set the center to be right here. So that's the part it rotates around. I'm also going to make them silent so they don't be annoying as shit. Delay before reset. This is -1. I'm just going to control this from the timer, because why not? They'll go 90 degrees. I don't even need them to be physics, but, you know. Don't necessarily need much, but I'm just going to call this door blue. I actually call this choo-choo door blue, because I'm on blue side. Don't need a lip or nothing like that. And the good thing is, this chunk right here, let me remove this. This part here is a separate model, so it's going to rotate on this, which is awesome. So I don't even have to do that. Next, I'm just going to copy this and go like that. Post it to the other side and line it up correctly. And this door, we're going to go -90. Wherever it is. Just like that. And those two doors are set up. Most likely. Copy over to here. The reason I'm making them different doors, in name at least, is because I want them to close at different times. So we're going to set this one to -90 and this one to 90. And the way you can confirm this is by just trying to transform it. So 90, excuse me, let's go 45. Oh, interesting. So this should be -90 actually. This should be 90. And And we'll try that over here. Rotated that way. So this should be -90. I'm not the best at guessing where they should rotate, but that works there. Alright, the other thing I guess I need to do is call this red instead of blue. Alright. And come back to my timer. Add some outputs on timer. Oops. Choo-choo tour blue. Open. And let's say we'll close after 10 seconds, I guess. Set the same for red. Forgot to set this to close. So for red as well. And close. Set that. Let's go 12 seconds, just slightly after the other one. That's probably off, but we'll see. In game, I'm not going to do any calculations, just do it by eyeball. Before I render here, I'm going to do one other thing, which is when the train comes right here, it needs to instantly kill you, push you into this wall right here, this player clip wall, and kill you. Now sometimes for whatever reason it doesn't actually kill you on here. Maybe you get stuck on this or something. I don't know. It's weird. But it's happened before where you just get stuck in the wall and the train goes past you. Or the very edge of the train clips you or something like that. It's really goofy, but... So it's weird, but I'm just going to use this box here and also line it up against their 2 pixels in. Just like that. And it made this tall as all hell. Don't know why. Set this just at the ground here. And the top right at the top of this gate. And that's good enough for me. Also set the vertexes to be aligned to the grid. Set this to another trigger hurt. If I can type. There we go. Don't need a name for this. Of course, set this to freeze, just like the other train, and just for clients. That's actually one of the reasons if you're flying around in no-clip in a lot of maps, such as like Groot Keep or a map like this, you can randomly just hit a trigger zone like this and die for seemingly no reason. So that's the reason there. So I'm going to run the map, test it out. So I'm just going to launch TF2. This map's done rendering.
Eat my dust!
Eat my dust. See if the stuff works. Well, the train worked, but the gates don't open. So at this point, I spend about 10 or 15 minutes trying to figure out what I did wrong. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit until I figure it out. So the new real issue is that I didn't parent them. This definitely should work now. So, back in game. It should work this time, pretty please. When the train comes through again, I'm going to check the height on the tracks as well. Looks about good. So that should shut at 10 seconds. Boom, and boom. Okay. Now it's just about adjusting that timing and doing little micro adjustments. So I'm going to do a little micro adjustment. Push these down another, I think, one-ish. 1 or 2, I think. Should be good. Let's try 2. It's better to be lower than higher, so. Alright, the other thing is, of course, just time these outputs a bit better. Let's go 6 seconds, maybe. Should probably be good. And these 5 seconds. And I'm also going to start work on the lights here. These signals. So I'm going to use these little signal boxes. Pretty simple stuff. Just like that. I could also do these. I might actually do those as well. Signal boxes, just like that. We have 4 different signals here. And slap this right up top. Just so people know exactly when the train's coming. Have as much warning beforehand as they possibly can. Like that. Alright. Now what I'll do here is put in an environment sprite and set it to this color here. And I'll just call these signals, I guess. I'll line this up properly, set it inside. There. And I'm just going to measure how large I want the sprite to be. So from here out to there would be about 10. So size of sprite, we're going to do 12. And then also with the render mode, we're going to do fast strobe so that people know that stuff's coming. And we'll put it down there too. Also change this to world space glow. Did forget about that point. Just like that. The other thing I guess I could do is just set this to... Okay, we're good there. Well, it's good on this side, so I'm just going to slide over my models. I'm going to group this all together. And copy. Slide it all the way over here. Turn it around by an 80. And line things up properly. Yep. Just like that. All good. Everything works. Make sure these have the same name. Don't know why they're green, but oh well. Okay, they're all called choo-choo signals. So here I'll add another timer, output 2 choo-choo signals. That'll be to show sprite. Where's this right here? And hide sprite at 6 seconds. So right when everything closes up and whatnot. Check that the sprite works. That the lights, flashing lights, everything like that works. And you can see them start strobing. Train comes through, and they close. The other thing I wanted to check is that those gates over there function properly. And that they close at the right time. So, also check the height of the train, make sure it's correct. And it looks to be. And they do shut. Now, I think that's good enough for me. So that's pretty much all to do with the train here. I just need to set the timer back to maybe 2 minutes. The other thing is there's little visual bugs like this that I need to fix up. There's a big old block over there as well that I'll need to fix up. There was one other thing I want to do, which is get rid of these player clips here on these grain huts. It's a very small, tiny difference, but on maps like Doublecross Snowy, which is, what would that be called? Double Frost. These are open for people to put on. For people to jump to, I think it's just better to do that. Make it kind of line up with that. I'm also going to set this train timer up to 120, so it only comes one every once in a while. Also, set the volume down on the train because it's annoying. It can get annoying, I should say, when you hear that every, well, it's now 2 minutes, but. And also going to add a few little Easter eggs here and there. Mainly all that is just adding a few models around. I don't know if you really call these Easter eggs, but whatever. To get rid of this kind of black ugly splotch and the one over there, it's pretty simple in Hammer. I just like to cut these splotches in half, and it usually fixes it. I actually don't know why. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me why that happens, but all I do know is that it does happen. and I tend to not know why it does. I think it's something to do with decomped maps, just being goofy, but I don't know. Since this is a meme map, I'm not going to fully compile it. I don't think it needs to be fully compiled since it's a meme map. So I'll just run it like this. So I found a few other areas I've got to do that same sort of deal to. This part here, right here, and also this giant chunk here. I'm going to add a little extra to the train as well. Particle system come in here. Just come out of the train as it's cruising down the track. Just like this. Oops. I'll do the same thing on the other side of the train. Just like that. And then also parent these to the proper entity. So with props like this in game, the reason they're appearing darker, and I'll just show that quick, this is on. If we actually go look at that vent, see it's kind of darker like that. It's weird looking. But anyways, the reason why it's like that is because we check in hammer, and actually the center of its lighting is coming from right here, which is of course inside of a block. So what you can do, change the lighting origin by getting an info lighting. And setting its origin to that. This is the more lazy way, but it does work. So now we're in game. You can see that actually fixed that props problem. Now you can either do that for every prop, or just say screw it and don't do it for any of them, because this is a meme map, but it's just a way to fix a few things. Now about these rocks, since I'm using fast compile, it's really dumb looking, really bad looking. It's actually caused by Source Engine trying to calculate shadows on the fast compile options, which is really bad. Just a little band-aid you can put on this by going into hammer, and I'll show you that as well. So you go to your rocks and just disable the shadows on them. Now obviously it's going to do exactly what it says, disable the shadows. So if it's on a large prop, you probably don't want to do this. But on smaller props like that are causing those annoying lighting errors, you can disable those if you want. So I'm going to pack up the map here, show you how I do that. So I'm going to build my CUBEMAPS. This is just a low dynamic range map. It's not HDR, so I'm going to do the quick version. Load in here and then build my CUBEMAPS. So I can go through this goofy process. Alright, so build those. Waste them. Change my matte specular back and disconnect. Switch to another map to clear up the cache, the texture cache. and check out the CUBEMAPS that I built. So, some CUBEMAPS did work, thankfully.
Incoming!
That worked, everything worked. A lot of stuff's low resolution and whatnot because it's on the fast compile, but like I said, it's a meme map and I don't really care too much to fully compile this. And the map's pretty much done. So that's all I have to do in Hammer. One last thing I have to do is pack my custom content. I've put in 2 custom textures that I need to pack into the map. And I'll do that with a program called Vide. So it scans all the stuff I need to pack into here. So when I come back into my maps here, I'll have my backup file and then the file with the packed content. See, it's slightly larger. And I'll grab that packed file, I'll put it in the release folder, Doublecross train, into release 1. Right. And that's the file that'll upload to the workshop. And you have to do that from in-game, weirdly enough. So I'll just show you how to do that as well. One other thing I have to do before I upload this is grab a few screenshots. Now there's a few ways to grab screenshots. You can either put developer cameras into the level, or you can just take them by hand. I prefer that. Actually notice I also changed my HUD because my old HUD didn't have the workshop button, which you kind of need. And I just got to edit those up in Photoshop. And I'll set it back into here. Publish up a new item. That looks good to me. You can publish up the file. And there you go.